Subject line in my inbox: "We need folks who prioritize work." I'm Jeremy, 39, and I laid my grandmother to rest on a Tuesday morning in Des Moines. I returned to Kansas City that Wednesday evening, expecting to be at my desk Thursday morning as if nothing had occurred. Instead, I found my access card disabled and a termination email waiting. 7 years. 7 years I dedicated to ClearPath Solutions, never missing a deadline, never taking a sick day unless I was truly unwell. I was the one they called when servers went down at midnight, the one who trained every new employee in our compliance department, the one who knew every detail of the code in our government contract systems. I'd requested 4 days off from Trent Mulligan, my boss, explaining my grandmother's passing. She was 86. She raised me after my parents died in a crash when I was 12. He said, "Okay, but hurry back. The Henderson audit is looming." I attended her funeral, helped my uncle sort her belongings. Came back ready to dive in. But there I was in my truck in ClearPath's parking lot rereading that email. "Your recent absence caused workflow disruption. Your employment is terminated immediately." No call, no discussion. Just a spreadsheet with my final paycheck details attached. I stared at the third-floor windows where I'd spent 7 years of my life, where I thought I'd made a difference, where I believed I was valued. The security guard was already approaching my truck. I started at ClearPath right after community college. Nadine Alvarez, the CEO, hired me personally back then. Said she appreciated that I asked straightforward questions instead of trying to dazzle her with tech buzzwords. I was 22 and thankful for the opportunity. The company managed data compliance for government contractors. Dull but reliable work. Essential. When defense firms needed system audits, they called us. When federal agencies feared data leaks, they called us. Trent joined 3 years ago. A middle management type who judged success by meetings held and emails sent. He didn't grasp the technical side but knew how to seem important. Always claiming others' achievements. Always reminding everyone he was the boss. I should have noticed the red flags sooner. Like when he started scheduling mandatory team meetings during lunch, or when he began logging bathroom breaks in a spreadsheet, or when he told Jessica from accounting her sick days were excessive after she had pneumonia. But I kept my focus on the job, did my tasks, thought if I stayed vital enough, if I made myself essential, I'd be safe. Truth was, I generated significant revenue for ClearPath. Our 2 largest clients, Meridian Defense Systems and Harrison Federal Consulting, specifically asked for me as their point of contact. They didn't trust our automated reports. They wanted human confirmation, someone who understood their unique needs. These weren't minor accounts. Meridian alone brought in $8 million yearly. Harrison added another $6.7 million. Together, they accounted for nearly 40% of our income. But Trent didn't see it that way. He saw me as someone getting too much client attention. Someone who made him look expendable. I recall our last talk before my grandmother's death. He called me into his office about the Henderson audit schedule. "Jeremy, you need to get this," he said, eyes on his screen. "No one here is indispensable, not even you." I nodded, said I got it. But sitting in that parking lot reading his termination email, I realized Trent had been plotting this for months. My grandmother's passing just gave him the opening he needed. The security guard tapped my window, a decent guy named Floyd who always asked about my weekend. "Sorry, Jeremy," he said when I lowered the glass. "Orders to escort you out." I handed over my badge. "Not your fault, Floyd." I didn't head home right away, drove around Kansas City for 2 hours, reflecting. Ended up at the cemetery where my grandmother was buried just 4 days prior. Sat on my truck's hood staring at the fresh earth over her grave. She'd have been livid, not about the firing. She'd lived through the Depression. Jobs came and went. But about the disrespect, about a man who'd shake your hand one day and betray you the next. "You were always too trusting, Jeremy," I could hear her voice. Sometimes good people get exploited. My phone vibrated. A text from Danny, a junior analyst I'd been mentoring. "What the hell happened? Trent sent an email saying you're gone, no details." Then another from Marcus in IT. "Heard you got canned. This place is nuts." Then Jessica from accounting. "They're saying you ditched your post, we know that's nonsense." I turned off my phone, didn't want to explain, but something nagged at me, beyond the obvious unfairness. During last month's Henderson audit, James Harrison from Harrison Federal pulled me aside. Asked if I was content at ClearPath. Said they were considering bringing compliance in-house and would need someone who knew their systems. I'd thanked him but said I was committed to ClearPath, that my role was secure. Now I wondered if Trent knew about that talk. If he'd decided to oust me before I could leave. The more I thought, the clearer it became. Trent's sudden focus on my client relationships. His questions about what Meridian and Harrison discussed with me on calls. His insistence that all client communication go through him now. He wasn't just firing me. He was trying to seize my accounts. Problem was, Trent didn't get how these relationships functioned. Meridian's project manager, Colonel Rita Vasquez, was ex-military. She valued skill and despised corporate games. Harrison's compliance director, Dr. Patricia Wung, was a perfectionist with 20 years at the FDA. She could spot a fake a mile away. Neither would be swayed by Trent's slide decks and jargon. I scrolled through my phone contacts. Found Steve Morrison, a lawyer I'd met at a compliance conference last year. He handled wrongful termination cases. Then I pocketed the phone without calling. I wasn't ready to fight yet. Wasn't ready for lawsuits and legal costs. But I was ready to see what happened when ClearPath tried to manage $14 million in government contracts without the person who actually knew how they worked. I started my truck and drove home. For the first time in 7 years, I had no place to be tomorrow morning. I spent the first week tidying my garage, sorting tools, tossing old paint cans. Anything to avoid thinking about ClearPath solutions. But by the next Monday, I knew I had to start job hunting. The issue was ClearPath's non-compete clause in their contracts. I couldn't work for a competitor for 12 months. In the compliance field that basically locked me out of my industry, I called Steve Morrison. Jeremy Wright, from the Denver conference. His tone was warm but professional. What can I do for you? I explained everything. The funeral, the firing, the non-compete. They sacked you for attending a family funeral, he sounded genuinely shocked. With written approval? I've got the email chain. Good, that's likely wrongful termination. But the non-compete is tricky. Even if we prove they fired you without cause, it might still hold in Missouri. He agreed to review my contract, but warned litigation could take years. Meanwhile, you're still barred from your field. After hanging up, I stared at my bank account at my kitchen table. I had maybe 3 months' worth of savings. After that, I'd need to start selling things. My phone rang. Unknown number. Jeremy, Colonel Vasquez from Meridian Defense. Her voice was sharp, military crisp. I've been trying to reach you at ClearPath, but they keep routing me to some Trent Mulligan. My stomach sank. Yes, ma'am. I'm no longer with the company. I see. That's unfortunate. We specifically requested you for our Q4 compliance review. This Mulligan guy seems to think he can manage, but frankly, he doesn't instill confidence. Started our call by asking to reschedule for a dental appointment. I nearly chuckled, but stayed professional. I'm sure ClearPath will assign someone capable to your account. Perhaps. Just know that Meridian values relationships built on skill and trust. If you land elsewhere, give me a call. She hung up before I could reply. 20 minutes later, another call. Dr. Patricia Wung from Harrison Federal. Jeremy, I heard about your exit from ClearPath. I hope all is well. Yes, ma'am, just a change in direction. I see. Well, I should note we got a strange call from a Mr. Mulligan today. He wanted to set up what he called a relationship reset meeting to discuss our contract terms. Frankly, we're puzzled. Our terms were set specifically around your oversight protocols. My chest tightened. I'm sure he'll get up to speed soon. Perhaps, but Jeremy, you should know Harrison Federal has always seen you as the core value in our ClearPath relationship. Without that assurance of quality, we may need to reassess our arrangements. After she hung up, I realized what was happening. Trent fired me, thinking he could step into my role with these clients. But he didn't grasp that compliance work wasn't about company rules or org charts. It was about trust. About proving month after month that you understood the stakes. These were defense contractors handling sensitive data, financial firms navigating federal rules. They didn't care about ClearPath structure, they cared about results. And Trent Mulligan, with his meeting-heavy style and buzzword lingo, was about to learn that the hard way. I opened my laptop and began updating my resume. The non-compete might be an issue, but something told me that was about to change. 2 weeks after my firing, Danny called, sounding urgent. Jeremy, we need to talk, not over the phone. We met at a downtown coffee shop. Danny looked anxious, glancing over his shoulder. This place is falling apart, he whispered. Since you left, everything's going wrong. He showed me a screenshot of an email from Colonel Vasquez to Trent, dated 3 days ago. We require immediate clarification on the discrepancies in your preliminary audit report. The error rate is roughly 300% higher than reviews under Jeremy Fulton's oversight. I read it twice. 300%. That's not even the worst of it, Danny said. Harrison Federal is threatening to pull their contract entirely. Dr. Wang sent a formal complaint to Nadine about Trent's unprofessional conduct and apparent incompetence. What did he do? Showed up to their quarterly review 20 minutes late, hadn't read their file, and kept calling Dr. Wang Patricia after she corrected him twice. Then suggested they streamline compliance to cut costs. I cringed. Patricia Wang had spent her career in federal regulatory work. Suggesting she cut corners was like telling a chef to skip ingredients. There's more, Danny said. Trent's telling everyone you were planning to quit anyway, says you were talking to competitors trying to poach clients. That's false. I know, but he's been digging through your old emails looking for proof. Found that talk you had with James Harrison about potential opportunities. It clicked. Trent hadn't fired me on a whim. He'd been crafting a story, ready to discredit me if clients asked questions. What's Nadine saying? Danny shook his head. No one knows. She's been in legal meetings all week. Rumor is Meridian and Harrison are threatening to end their contracts unless ClearPath can restore prior service levels. He slid a paper across the table. This is Trent's new org chart. He's made himself director of client relations, gave himself a 15% raise. I scanned the document. My old role was listed as eliminated due to restructuring. Danny, I need a favor, but only if you're okay with it. He nodded. Next time Dr. Wang or Colonel Vasquez calls with a technical question, don't immediately transfer them to Trent. Mention the company's in a transition period and ask if they want their concerns documented in writing. Why? Because when this falls apart, ClearPath will need a paper trail showing clients requested qualified oversight. It's the only way the company survives. Danny agreed but looked worried about his own job. After he left, I sat in the coffee shop, thinking about Trent's 15% raise. About his self-promotion to a role that didn't exist when I was there. About the clients he was ignoring while chasing a corner office. I called Steve Morrison. Steve, it's Jeremy Fulton. We need to move faster on the wrongful termination case. What's changed? My former employer's about to lose 40% of their revenue. When they do, they'll realize they need me back. And you want to be ready to negotiate? Exactly. Steve acted quickly. Within a week, ClearPath received a formal letter outlining the wrongful termination claim and demanding my immediate reinstatement with back pay. But I wasn't waiting for their reply. I'd spent 7 years mastering Meridian Defense and Harrison Federal's needs. I knew their compliance schedules, reporting requirements, internal dynamics. More importantly, I knew their challenges. Meridian was moving into cybersecurity consulting. They needed someone who understood both defense contracting rules and new federal data protection standards. Harrison was navigating new FDA pharmaceutical tracking rules that overlapped with their financial compliance protocols. Both had issues ClearPath couldn't address because Trent didn't grasp the technical complexity, so I started making calls, first to Colonel Vasquez. Ma'am, I'm following up on our talk about my exit from ClearPath. Jeremy, good to hear from you. I hope you're calling with better news about your situation. Actually, I'm proposing a consulting arrangement, independent contractor work focused on your cybersecurity compliance transition. A pause. That depends on your availability and your former employer's non-compete restrictions. My lawyer's handling the non-compete. Meanwhile, I can offer advisory services outside ClearPath's core business. Such as? Cybersecurity compliance is beyond their expertise. It's a specialized field needing dedicated knowledge. Interesting? Send a proposal. Next, I called Dr. Wang. Same approach, different focus. Harrison needed help with the new pharmaceutical tracking rules, technically outside ClearPath's data compliance scope. Jeremy, I'll be direct. We're deeply unhappy with ClearPath's current service. If you can provide the specialized help we need, we'd be keen to discuss terms. Within 3 days, I had consulting agreements with both companies. The work was technically outside ClearPath's scope, so the non-compete didn't apply. But in practice, I was delivering the high-level oversight Trent had lost when he fired me. The timing was perfect. Thursday morning, Danny called, panicked. Jeremy, Nadine wants to see you today. She asked for your number. Did she say why? No, but Trent was escorted out an hour ago. Security took his badge. My phone rang before Danny could elaborate. Blocked number. Jeremy, this is Nadine Alvarez. We need to talk urgently. Her voice was tense, unlike her usual calm control. Of course, when works. Now. Can you come to the office? I'll meet you in the parking lot to avoid reception. I drove to Clearpath, wondering what had shifted. Nadine was by her car, looking weary. Jeremy, I owe you an apology. And likely more. She handed me a folder. Meridian and Harrison sent contract termination letters this morning, effective in 30 days unless we restore prior service levels. I opened the folder. The letters were professional, final, and crippling. We also got copies of your consulting agreements with both companies. Smart, staying outside our non-compete. Nadine, I don't apologize. You did what I would have done. She looked exhausted. The question is whether we can fix this before it ruins the company. We talked for 2 hours in her office. She'd reviewed everything. Trent's emails, client complaints, audit reports with rising error rates since I left. I trusted him to manage the transition, she said, shaking her head. I was focused on the Henderson merger and assumed he could handle our accounts. What changed your mind? Dr. Wang called me directly yesterday. Said Harrison Federal has never seen such unprofessional service in 30 years. Then Colonel Vasquez filed a formal complaint through military channels. She showed me a printed email. This morning, Henderson Industries called. They're rethinking the merger because our client retention numbers don't match Trent's reports. I read the email. Henderson learned Clearpath was losing $14.7 million in revenue, nearly 40% of our contracts. Trent told them you quit to join a competitor, said the client losses were unavoidable because you were poaching accounts. That's not true. I know. I saw the termination paperwork he filed. Attendance violation for attending your grandmother's funeral. She met my eyes. Jeremy, I'm offering you Trent's role, Director of Client Relations, 20% salary increase, and full control over compliance operations. What about my consulting agreements? Keep them. They're part of your new duties. Meridian and Harrison trust you, not the company. If bringing you back saves those contracts, that's what matters. I thought of my grandmother. About 7 years of loyalty repaid with a cold email. I'd need to consider Nadine's offer carefully.